Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clark on YouTube. Oh no! You know, I really appreciate time in creating a feel for a YouTube video and an atmosphere, so that's why I was really hoping the sun was going to be out over the clouds when I was producing this video, but unfortunately today it's really gloomy outside and the clouds have moved in. But I guess we can find time in appreciating that, because today we're going to be talking about Snow White's live action, which grossed 16 million within the first 2 days of its opening weekend, which is an impressive number for a Disney live action to gross. I am not expecting this one to be the highest grossing live action from the Disney live action lineup, because that goes to Beauty and the Beast, I believe. But notwithstanding its unprecedented success, and Renee Zellweger doing a phenomenal job as Snow White at 55 years old, she looks fantastic in this role. Probably one of the strongest adaptations of Snow White that I have ever seen in my life. And because I have such an appreciation for the original classic, which began development in 1934 and was finally finished by 1937, one of the movies that Walt Disney, fortunately enough, got to see before his passing on December 15th of 1966, I thought I'll go through YouTube and I'll watch a bunch of footage and I'll see what I can find to celebrate the release of this movie, and also talk about the original animated classic, which I found time in appreciating. And it took me hours. I must have watched 25 pieces of footage before I found a piece of footage that I really loved and I wanted to show you guys. And it really puts into perspective, how important music is to a movie. And the fun thing is about, watching musicals is you get to see the presentation of a story through the power of music, when the emotions are really too high to experience it through the power of saying it in a script. That's the most effective thing about a musical and how a musical is distributed. We saw it in Wicked, we saw it in High School Musical, we saw it in The Lion King. There are so many powerful ways to tell a story, and I think one of the most effective ways to tell a story is through the power of music. I'll never forget that scene where Mufasa explains to Simba about the circle of life and how we die, our bodies become part of the ground, and we go back to what we were originally intended to be. Our purpose is fulfilled. I'll never forget seeing that scene. I was probably about 9 years old, and I stood up in the back of a movie theater, and I found time in appreciating everything that was explained to us in The Lion King, just as I was appreciative of how everything was once again explained to us in the live action adaptation of Mufasa from this past December, which was great. But, it was so fun being a fan of the original Disney Princess lineup, which also included Tinkerbell and Esmeralda, and it got me to thinking, Esmeralda, who's Esmeralda? And then I went through some of the backlog of information, and I saw, hey, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo. And, Quasimodo was probably one of the more insignificant characters of Disney's history in the backlog. But it got me thinking, if you guys don't start hitting the subscribe button faster than what you are, I'm going to end up like Quasimodo and be the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So if you could help me out and hit the subscribe button, that would be really appreciative. Esmeralda, though, was a great princess. She was so enthusiastic. She loved to dance. Her personality was amazing. And for some unfortunate reason, they removed both her and Tinkerbell from the original Disney Princess lineup, which now includes Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, and I think Jasmine's in there too as well. But the original Disney Princess lineup is what everybody remembers from being a fan of original Disney classic movies. Because if you know, Disney has produced over 100 animated movies since Snow White premiered in 1937, one of Walt Disney's prides and joys from the Brothers Grimm. He first saw it when he was 15 years old, and he went to a silent version of the film. He approached the Brothers Grimm and wanted the rights to it, just as he wanted the rights to Mary Poppins and Cinderella, to create those. And he got them. But can you imagine going and seeing a silent version of the film and being as appreciative as what Walt Disney was of it? I don't know if we'd be as appreciative of it now in this generation where we have IMAX and seats that rock back and forth, but I would love to go back in time and watch adaptations of movies that are done in silent format, because you come away from it with a greater appreciation for it. I was always a sucker for musicals, romantic movies, movies about princesses and people becoming princesses, like we saw in Sleeping Beauty and we saw in Snow White. I just had a greater appreciation for it and the detail that went into it. Do you know that every floorboard in the dwarf's cottage in the original movie has an animal carved into every one of the individual floorboards? That's incredible when you actually think about it. And for a movie that had a budget of originally $250,000 and went up to $1.5 million, that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Can you imagine producing Captain America: A Brave New World on $1.5 million alone with the special effects? Just one scene and your budget will be maximized, and we'd be bankrupt. We'd be on ET filing for bankruptcy and explaining it to the media. What happened? What happened? You know, that's what we'd be saying. But for 1.5 million, Disney did such a great job. They really brought this one to life. There were originally 25 songs. I spoke about how powerful musicals are intended to be. 25 songs were originally composed, and only 8 of them were chosen. And that's an incredible amount of songs to have to actually cut out. Songs like Someday My Prince Will Come and, of course, Hi Ho were chosen as 2 of the original 8 songs that were casted for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Remember that song? Hi ho, it's off to work we go. I actually sing that in my head every single day because I wonder how I'm going to get through every day. And that song kind of helps me. You know, sometimes when you got something on your mind, you start singing that, and you get through your day a lot easier. And then after hearing it a couple of times, a couple of hundred times when I was a kid, I always wanted to apply for a job as part of the mime working alongside the dwarfs. There's just something about swinging an axe, and you know, I like that. I like how the dwarves are just there in the movie, and they're so happy. And if there was one dwarf that I could be, it would be Doc for the wisdom. And you're thinking to yourself, you want to be Doc? Just the other day, I was listening to you talk about how you thought superheroes were real, and you wish the Hulk was out on their sidewalks throwing cars. Well, the thing about me is, I really appreciate keeping a child's beliefs of superheroes and magic existing. And that's one message that I've always wanted to put across and put out there on this YouTube channel, is that simply put, ladies and gentlemen, anything is possible. Because if you're a fan of superheroes, you're a fan of Disney princesses, I'm here to tell you, I was too. And I was just as big a fan of them as you are today, and you are as a family who are probably watching this video. The thing is, I would really appreciate it if I could go to, I don't know, the movie theater and walk out of it about 11:30 at night and see the Hulk throwing a car at me, and I do the whole duck thing, Hulk smash. You know, there's just something about that. Or seeing Spider-Man, knowing that Spider-Man is going to jump down and stop a crime in progress on the street. I really appreciated that, especially more so after Stan Lee passed away a couple of years ago. I think it was back in 2019 he passed away. And my heart was broken because he was gone. But if not, and then you think about people like Walt Disney and Stan Lee and how important they were to entertainment. Because if not for Walt Disney, we wouldn't see characters like Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Minnie Mouse, and characters eventually coming like Hercules and Snow White and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty and Ariel from The Little Mermaid, Jasmine from Aladdin. They were such a critical part of all of our lives, and I miss them to this day. And I just like to keep the hopes and dreams of everybody alive through the messages, the powerful messages that I like to convey on this YouTube channel. And I really don't see anything wrong with that. If a child loves to think that a superhero is real, I love that. I appreciate my nephew, how my nephew used to tell me about the Hulk and Iron Man. And when he was 5 years old, he would tell me when he was playing his video game about how they were real. And that's something that I really, really appreciated. I really enjoyed. And why is there music coming out of my Google Nest? This house is haunted. Wow. Special effect. Anyway, guys, this past weekend I went through about, I'd say, 25 pieces of I hope this house is haunted. 25 pieces of footage. Looking at interviews that were done for Snow White's live action. And Renee Zellweger did a couple of really good interviews. So after going through 25 pieces of footage, I found this one piece of footage that I absolutely fell in love with. I want to show you guys because I found the questions that were asked in this were very exemplified. And she explains a lot. Like, she explains about the emotion behind the music. She explains how fun it was shooting the script. And she also explains, I think, about the relationship between herself and animals, which is something that Snow White identifies with, is how her relationship with animals and every living thing really fits appropriately into the script. And the music, everything about it is so phenomenal. Now, of course, the budget is ultimately higher for Snow White's live action than it was back in 1937. Way higher than it was for Sleeping Beauty, which was produced in 1956 or 57, and way higher than it was produced for any other Disney movie, I think. So for 1.5 million, Disney did the best he could with it, and he got a couple of Academy Awards for it by 1937's release of this movie. But I remember it vividly when I was a kid. I remember sitting down watching The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights. You'd get your homework, you'd get your bath, and you'd watch The Wonderful World of Disney. And I remember watching these documentaries that they would put together for movies like Snow White and Cinderella. And it was just amazing watching the animation and watching it come to life. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like for families watching a live action for the first time ever. And, you know, it's really fun, too, because I know a lot of people are going to be taking their kids to see this one for the first time who probably didn't see the original one. So use Disney Plus to your advantage and watch this one if you're fortunate enough to be subscribed to it. Because you're probably going to want to introduce your kids to the original animated one and the live action one and try to offer a bit of a comparison of what it was like when you were a kid growing up to what it is now. And that's what I find time in appreciating. You know, there was this painting that Disney made a couple of years before he passed away featuring all of his characters that he had originally created. It's worth millions, and it's in some museum now. But on this painting, there were characters like Mickey Mouse, Peter Pan, Winnie the Pooh, and the original Disney Princess lineup, which I was a huge fan of. My favorite Disney princess of all time has to be Belle, either Belle or Ariel. It's a toss-up between the two of them, but I remember seeing this painting and just how proud Disney was of his original princess lineup, and I can only imagine how much he's smiling down on all of us today, seeing all of his original live-action princesses come to life, his original animated princesses being brought to life on the big screen, whether it be in original form, IMAX, D-Box, whatever. I can only imagine how proud he must be. Now, I know there are a lot of opinions, mixed reactions when it comes to things like Snow White, but honestly, I really enjoy seeing things brought to life in a way that they couldn't be brought to life probably 50 years ago. And since Snow White's release in 1937, we've seen over 100 movies produced by Walt Disney Animated Studios. And congratulations to you guys for doing that. We had a team of over 750 artists with 2 million sketches by the time this one was finished. That would fill up this room. 2 million sketches? I can't even imagine where I put them all. You know, when I moved into this house first, I didn't know where I was going to put all my games. Can you imagine what I do with 2 million sketches? I must check Job Fair and see if they've got an employment opportunity for working on mine. I'd love to do what the dwarfs do, because they're 7 characters that I really, really appreciate for their wisdom and how much of a friendship they had with Snow White. It was incredible. So what do you say we watch this footage together and we come away with a really great appreciation, and we have a lot of fun doing it. I would love to watch this footage with you, and you can leave me your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I would really appreciate it if you would take the time to do that. I love how you're doing an introduction 1 minute, and the next minute you're up in the corner showing what you're going to show for footage in your video. It's so cool. Hi, YouTube. Hi, everybody. I'm up in the corner again. There's Mickey. But I think this piece of footage really explains to you a lot of stuff that some interviews that you will find on YouTube and done by entertainment programs like E.T. and Extra. I think this interview was phenomenally put together. The emotion was really put behind it, and it really sets the stage for what's going to be one of Disney's most successful live-action movies, or at least we hope, by the time the reviews come in. I must have went through about 25 pieces of footage. I was up till midnight looking at it. And I love doing that. I love spending time alone. I love watching these videos and getting a greater appreciation and understanding for what these princesses and these stories, these backlogs, mean to the telling of the story of a princess, or somebody who eventually goes on to become a princess through their legacies. This will really define this movie for a really long time, and I think everybody's going to come away with a greater appreciation for it. And if you're a family watching my videos for the first time, I really appreciate it if you took a minute to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. So let's watch this video together. I think you are really, really going to enjoy it. I've had a whole lot of fun putting these videos together for you, so if you can give me your feedback in the comments, it would be greatly appreciated. Let's watch this 13-minute long interview together. And I think Gal Gadot and Mark Webb make appearances in this as well. And I remember him from Spider-Man in 2012. He did a lot of stuff for The Amazing Spider-Man. Again, Incredible Hulk. I keep looking out through my window, hoping he's going to throw a car through it. But let's watch this together and have a greater appreciation for it and have a whole lot of fun doing it.
Tell us about Snow White. How do you think you are similar or different?
Oh, wow. so much of my life has been dedicated to portraying Snow White. I've been attached to this movie and this girl for 5 years now, and it's a really big percentage of my life and career. So much of us has kind of melded into one. I really hope that I have a similar heart to hers. She has this beautiful, unending kindness and positive outlook towards the world. Her relationship with nature is very special and very important to her, as it is to myself as well, and the way we treat living things and the world around us. I wish I could be as positive as she is at times. That's certainly a difference we have, but I think it's a very human thing to not always see the bright side. But that is part of the beauty of Snow White. It has been for 88 years now that she just sees the good in everyone and everything. And I hope that I and so many people who watch this film can embody that as well.
Snow White is Disney's first princess, and Disney princesses are often seen as symbols that offer encouragement. What message are you hoping to convey to audiences with your portrayal of Snow White?
I really hope that audiences walk away from this film with an understanding of the true meaning of fairness, of what it means to be fair in this world. There is a message that's been carried on for almost 90 years now from the original animated classic. That is, fairness is what is within. Fairness is to do with your heart, the way you treat the people around you. And it has nothing to do with what you look like. And that's the misunderstanding between Snow White and the Evil Queen. I think it's such an important message, and the way that Disney has elevated it and brought it to this new audience is very special.
When you portray characters like Maria from West Side Story and Snow White, how do you approach the roles to make them your own?
There's definitely an unspoken pressure that comes with the reimagination and retelling of classic stories. I've been very honored for so much of my career to bring those stories back to the new generation and to be a version of a film or story that people either haven't seen before or they loved growing up and now get to see reborn again. There's a lot of responsibility there, and so you have to take excellent care of the classic versions of these stories that people care so deeply about and toe the line for the modern age and make them understand why it needs to be retold or re-brought into the conversation. With West Side Story, we were very lucky to be in such wonderful hands, and I am just as fortunate to be with Disney working on this film as well. There are messages in both films that everyone needs to hear. It's timeless. That's what makes it a classic. So the opportunity to get to bring it back for
I want to tell you, I would have loved to have been the director of West Side Story. I would have loved to have been one of the characters in West Side Story. There was just something about, two different sides clashing and a lot of action, and it kind of reminds me of like the Royal Rumble, the WWF Royal Rumble. Like, it would be so much fun to shoot that and just be in the middle of it all, because of just how great of a story it was. I think it was one of Charles Dickens' best stories ever told, and it was great.
New generation of moviegoers and film lovers is a real honor.
Talk about the power ballad Waiting on a Wish. Why is that song so important for your character and the story?
Disney really created the mold of the I Want song for its heroines, from Part of Your World to Just Around the River Bend to God Help the Outcasts. There are so many amazing wishes that have...
Boy, did they ever. That is the truest thing ever said. Disney had this phenomenal ability to tell a story through the songs that they created. And that's why you heard me say here earlier about how 25 songs were originally written for a movie, but only 8 or 9 of them would be chosen back in the early 1900s. They wanted the most powerful songs to convey the most powerful of messages, and they really had an ability to do this, an uncanny ability to do this. I don't even think I would be able to do it. Probably I could, because my imagination is just so far out there. But I really found time appreciating the soundtracks for a lot of movies like The Little Mermaid and Snow White, probably more than anybody.
Have been surfaced in these classic Disney films, and Waiting on a Wish is joining the lineup of that amazing trope that Disney has carved in the movie world. It's an incredible storytelling device to be able to sing, and when the emotions are too high, instead of speaking, we sing, because it's the deepest part of your heart that gets to sing. And so Waiting on a Wish comes at Snow White's lowest moment in the first act of the film, when she's told she lives in a world of wishes and to just go back to her well because she will never be the leader that her father believed she could be. And it's such a universal feeling for young people, for young women in particular. I can always dream, but then I wake up and it's me again, and I'm just...
You ever notice how, like, it's always about the Disney princess and the relationship between the Disney princess and their father? Even with Cinderella, even though there was a lot of significance with Eldramelda and Tremaine and her mother, they always go back to the relationship between Cinderella and her father. It's always about how their father never accepts them, and they think that they're never going to be anything or amount to anything special, and then they defy the odds. That's what I really appreciate about Disney scripts, is no matter how much a princess is backed into a proverbial corner, which is an old saying I used to use on my podcast all the time, which is a corner that you're backed into that you seem like you're never going to find your way out of. The Disney princess always perseveres and finds her way out of that situation she's caught up within. And that's something that I think every young person who sees this movie should take from it. No matter how much you're backed into a proverbial corner, there is always a way to defy the odds and achieve your dreams. That's fantastic.
Just waiting on a wish, and it's a hopelessness, but there is a flicker of courage and of bravery, and it's the people around her that she meets along the way that remind her that she is capable. And one of my favorite lyrics in the film comes in the third act with Snow White Returns, where she says, "You are everything you've been wishing and waiting for," and that's the resolve. So we need power ballads like that. We need to sing through our hopelessness and find that flicker of bravery. And
I love how the princess or the heroine goes away, and he or she leaves from where they're originally from, and they come back and they defy everything, and they win. They achieve victory. Kind of like how Batman and Bane in The Dark Knight Rises. Batman, of course, was thrown into this pit by Bane, and he did everything he could to get out of it. He'd try to climb out of the pit, and he'd fall down, and then the inmates around him would encourage him to try again, until one day Batman got up and he said, "I'm going to do this." And he got out of the pit. But it was always the belief of the kids that pulled Batman out of that pit. Batman went away, and every day the kids would ask their parents as they were walking the streets, "Do you think Batman will ever come back?" And their parents would deny the fact that Batman even existed. Until one day the kids were on the bus, and here comes Batman, and they're so happy to see him. A heroine, definitely. And I think that that's something that's really appreciated, how a hero goes away in these movies and finds themselves. I've always wanted to be able to do that, but Hollywood's never given me the opportunity. Call me up.
And it is about the people around us as well, who usher us along the way.
If every time you see an ad, you just want to... You need to download Pi. It's a free Chrome extension that blocks ads.
What was it like playing one of the screen's all-time greatest villains?
Oh, it was amazing. I still pinch myself. It's such an honor and it's such a privilege to be able to play such an iconic character like the Evil Queen. I had a lot of fun bringing her to life and portraying this delicious character.
I think Gal Gadot has a lot of fun bringing everyone to life. I know she had a lot of fun bringing Wonder Woman to life, and I know how a lot of people were really appreciative of her bringing that character to life, because Wonder Woman, I think, was the first female superhero that was brought to life since Elektra, and that was in 2005, done by Carmen Electra, I think, was who portrayed... the internet will correct me if I'm wrong here, but she portrayed Elektra. And she was the first one to do it, and here comes Gal Gadot doing such a phenomenal job. So I think casting her at 39 years old to play the Evil Queen was a great way of doing it. A really great way of doing it. I know the one of the witches from Hocus Pocus played the evil queen in Descendants, and she did a great job, but I don't think anyone's been able to nail it as much as what Gal Gadot has done at 39 years old. Can you imagine?
How would you describe the evil queen? What motivates her?
I think for me, in order to find ways to connect to her and to love her, I couldn't just play her as like a just mean and bad character because she just wants more power. For me, she was very vulnerable and full of insecurities about who she is and what grants her power and what's important in life. And she was a little bit misunderstood. And that's what motivates her. She thinks that with her beauty, she will be loved and grant power. But it's not the way to go. Evil Queen, I'm sorry.
What can you tell us about the evil queen's relationship with her magic mirror?
The magic mirror is kind of like, the magic mirror fuels the ego for the queen. As long as
Now, come to think of it, I would have loved to have been the voice of the magic mirror. I have that overpowering voice, and I think I would be able to do that. But I think I would be more of a funny kind of guy, because I've always wanted to do the voices of these insignificant characters or sidekicks. So like when she'd say, "Who's the fairest in the land?" I would say, "Yeah, Snow White." And then I would argue with her back and forth. "No, man, it's Snow White. You think you're the fairest in the land? Man, have you seen how evil this girl is? Honestly, Snow White all the way. I'd be like the #1 fan of Snow White. And every question the queen would ask me, I would defy. Because I would be all about positivity and energy and just being in the moment. Living, because you only got one life to live. Make the most of every opportunity you got. All the way. I would love to have been the voice of the magic mirror, man.
as the queen gets reassured by the magic mirror that she's the fairest of them all, then she's fine. But as soon as the answer is different, then she's completely broken and raged and unhinged and losing it.
How was it working with Pasek and Paul and choreographer Mandy Moore?
It's amazing. I think that we've had such an incredible creative team working on the film, between Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, working on the music, having Mandy Moore, who's like they're all such a dream to be working with, and they really...
Mandy Moore is a dream to work with. Mandy Moore is probably one of the most talented people in Hollywood, and I want to put that out there. I've watched Mandy Moore since the premiere of my podcast on August 15th of 1999, and I've come away with so much appreciation for Mandy Moore. It is unreal. What that girl can do with a script, what that girl can do with a song to bring it to life, I've never seen anyone be able to do it in the way that she does, and she is more than deserving of more than just a Hollywood Walk of Star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's amazing.
Elevated the film to the best version of what it could be.
All right, first question. Why is the character of Snow White so beloved?
I think what makes Snow White so beloved is her optimistic grace. I mean, there is something so kind and so warm-hearted about her, and how she moves through the world in the darkest part of the kingdom and in the darkest times of the kingdom. She finds something uplifting and optimistic and allows everybody to be the best version of themselves, and finds sort of joy and optimism in even the darkest of times. And I think that's something that we can all learn from.
What inspiration did you find in the 1937 film, and how did you put your own spin on the story?
I think I was inspired by how kind she was. This was something, there was a gentle spirit about her, but there was...
Yeah, she is really kind. She's probably one of the kindest princesses of all time. If you notice the relationship between herself and the animals in the woods, especially even from the animated classic, you'll come away with a greater appreciation for what Snow White is really defined through. The magic behind this one is absolutely incredible.
There was also something thoughtful and warm about her character that I really wanted to pay homage to. I also thought we had an opportunity to find a few modern surprises and twists that still felt, like we were revering or respecting the original, but also giving people something to look forward to, and a few surprises along the way that I think the audience has found great delight in. And not only that, there was some new music. I mean, we did these hits, "Waiting on a Wish," or we did, "Whistle While You Work," "Hi Ho." These wonderful sort of iconic songs, but also wanted to create something that felt
iconic song, all right. That was my favorite song from the entire Snow White soundtrack. I sing it every day in my head. It really helps me get through the day. Thank you, Disney composers, for writing that song. There's just something about Hi Ho. It really lifts your spirits.
New and gave the audience something to look forward to. I mean, there's great numbers. "Waiting on a Wish," I think, is already sort of making an impact, and people are playing it and realizing sort of like how powerful Rachel's voice is. But there's also fun. "Princess Problems" is a great sort of modern ditty that sort of fits into the world in a really wonderful way, and again dramatizes just how impactful Snow White is to the characters around her. There's just so much music that is coming alive in this movie that I think is really just delightful.
What was your overall vision for this film?
My overall vision for the film was I just wanted to deliver joy. I think that was always the North Star, is to make something delightful.
Man, I like the interview, but one thing I appreciate is when a journalist can go in there and just fire rapid fire questions, not reading off a sheet of paper that you got. I think one of the most effective ways to do an interview is rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, and talk to them like you're their friend. That's something I always did when I was podcasting and I do interviews years ago. It was rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. And the guy that would come out of the interview, or the girl coming out of the interview that I did the interview with, was like, man, I felt like I was talking to my best friend. And they're kind of like mellow, like just talking to the media. I appreciate conversations that are derived from your brain, your imagination, and how you can make the person you're interviewing feel like you're their best friend. That's something I really like about interviews.
And make something joyful that people could lose themselves into in for an hour and a half. And, that is something that we all agreed on. There's messages of sort of kindness and of finding humanity in each other, but we just at the end of the day wanted to entertain.
I love Monday.com.
What's Monday.com?
You don't know Monday.com? This is Monday.com. It's a...
What did Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot bring to their roles?
I mean, Rachel has this sort of like optimistic worldview that I think is super endearing and lovely, and she has this sort of a graceful countenance that I think you can feel in the movie. And like she also has a deep understanding of the Disney sort of lore and Disney movies, and she grew up with them. She is such a Disney kid in every conceivable way. And so she kind of understood the tone of that character and just what that kind of specific kind of optimism and mix of sort of modernity and something very traditional. And she could really embrace that. And Gal has this sort of immense exotic power to her that is thrilling to be around. She is, she's absolutely stunning and beautiful and one of the most beautiful women in the world. And but she also she knows how to carry herself, and that power and that discipline is really at play in this character. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of people in the world who can pull off those costumes the way Gal can, and that was just delightful. And boy, she in All's Fair, which is her great sort of villain number.
I'd be able to pull it off. I mean, you give me the role of Hercules or something, I 100% am confident enough that I would be able to pull that off. I've studied these characters for forever, so maybe Mark Webb wants to take a step back, and hopefully he'll see this YouTube channel when it goes viral. He'll give me the role of Hercules, and man, I'll be the most enthusiastic Hercules that you've ever seen in your life. Not only that, but I think I'd make a fantastic genie. 10,000 years, give you such a crick in the neck. I mean, there are just these iconic scenes that I think I would be able to pull off if given the opportunity. So maybe Disney wants to take me up on that opportunity, give me a call. Although I'm probably a long way away from it ever happening, depending on whether or not this YouTube channel goes viral. But I just want to put that out there. I'm 100% confident that I can do this.
She is having such a good time, and I think the audience has really started to feel just how magnificent Gal is in this movie.
Let's talk about Benji Pasek and Justin Paul.
Pasek and Paul.
How important is their musical to the overall narrative?
Well, so Pasek and Paul are some of the greatest songwriters that are alive today. They've done such, wonderful work, whether it's La La Land or Dear Evan Hansen. They have been, or The Greatest Showman. They just understand what it is to bring music to a story. And they were as involved as all the screenwriters, maybe more so, in delivering the narrative. I think one of the great things about them is they know how to, write.
Man, guys, when you're doing an interview, make sure you clear your throat. When I record videos or I do live podcasts over the years, if I had a congested throat, I would, like, before we go live or we'd shoot the video or we record it or something, man, I drink, I think 10 liters of water, so I wouldn't be going, that I don't know about that stuff, man. I just like to do stuff professionally, and that wouldn't fly with me. If I was out there, interviewing this guy and I was shooting him with rapid fire questions, and he was one of my idols from shooting Spider-Man in 2012, man, I'd be overcome with sadness. I interviewed this guy and all he did was no, man, no. We'd have to retake the whole thing and he'd get mad with me, and we'd probably have WWF Royal Rumble. But yeah, if you're doing an interview, make sure your throat is cleared, guys, especially if you're accepting an award or something. I gotta speak, say if you're going for student council president and you got to give a speech to the entire student body, if you do anything, make sure you drink lots of Kool-Aid or Gatorade or something before you get up there.
A catchy tune and write really compelling lyrics, but so much of the story in a musical is done through the music, and they know either how the world evolves through we talk so much about how the world evolves or how the character evolves or how the action gets moved forward by these numbers. It's it's the same kind of thing as an action movie.
There he goes again. Point proven. Drink lots of Gatorade. Drink lots of it, honestly, especially if you're going for, like I said, anything important in your life, Gatorade all the way, man.
Or an action scene. It has to move the story. It has to deepen your understanding of a character. Otherwise, the music doesn't sort of mean as much contextually. It can be a very pleasing tune, but if it doesn't tell a story, it's not as compelling.
True enough. If it doesn't tell a story, it's not compelling. Okay, yeah, that's the biggest point. If it doesn't tell a story, it's not compelling. Give me a second. I'm going to switch over to the other program, and we're going to close this thing out. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like buttons if you get a minute. I've had a whole lot of fun producing this video. I hope you liked it. Yeah, the power of telling a story through the utilization of music when the emotions are so high is just an incredible, incredible gift for anybody to have. And I really appreciated these interviews and the insight that they offered to the people that are going to be introduced to the Snow White and the concept of it, the whole storyboard, for the first time ever. If you're going to see this one as a family, it comes highly recommended from me, especially with the numbers that I'm seeing early on since the opening night of this one. 16 million, an impressive number, but that's not the final tally. So I'm looking forward to that too. I'm also probably going to be checking out Job Fair later on today to see if there's an application that I can fill out to become a member of the mine. There's just something about working alongside the Seven Dwarves that offers inspirational moments and times in my life, and I would just love to do it. And as I said here earlier, I think Doc would be my favorite of the Seven Dwarves to portray in this movie because of the wisdom I could offer. And once again, you're saying to yourself, Jonathan, I heard you talking about how superheroes were real the other day, and you believed it so much. I do. I really do believe that superheroes are real. And when it comes to magic, anything is possible. Just as it's possible enough for you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, so I don't have to be in Disney's live-action Hunchback of Notre Dame. Guys, I've had a lot of fun producing this video for you. I hope as a family you laughed during it. I hope as a family a lot of things jumped out at you and it brought back fond memories from your childhoods. Probably there's a parent out there watching it with you who remembers the original classic Snow White, and I hope I did trigger some memories inside of his or her heart, because ultimately that's what I want to do. I want to make you think about your childhood, and as you introduce your kids to this new franchise in a completely different way that we could have only wished to have done it 88 years ago. I hope you have a whole lot of fun doing it. And I hope you have a whole lot of fun being here watching these videos as I do, creating them for you. Bye, YouTube. We will see you again.